For Americans with disabilities, exercising the basic human, legal, and civil rights has not always come easy, to the point where laws have been passed to reestablish these constitutional rights. People with disabilities come from all walks of life, occupation, socioeconomic levels, and regions. And one thing we all have in common is the right to dignity, equality, and independence.
I look at each day as a new beginning, a gift from God. I want to use that gift to create positive change for the future with respect for families, communities, and the world. Because I have the privilege of living in the United States, I enjoy many freedoms and rights, and this affords me great opportunity. It is my hope that the children of today who happen to have a disability will one day fully enjoy the freedom of choice, opportunity, liberty, respect, and dignity every day of their lives, and that they will be seen for their abilities and not for how they may be different.
The one thing that I value most about this country is the individual's right to have a belief system. Freedom of religion is so important to me. Without my faith, I couldn't make it. The Constitution gives me the right to believe in a higher power, and for this, I am grateful.
Having a voice and a choice matters. Being in charge of my life is also very important to me. Working with people first has allowed me to teach the value of self-advocacy to others. It's helped me accomplish my goals. I have learned to drive, graduated from the University of Arkansas, and started a family.
I am just like every other woman. I love to shop. I thoroughly enjoy going to the perfume counter and examining every single bottle. I can spend hours at the perfume counter. If I ever had the chance, I would love to own a perfume and cosmetics store. I love to eat out. I enjoy going to nice, delicious restaurants. My favorite thing is chocolate, but not just any chocolate. It's got to be the good stuff. My favorite probably is the world's finest chocolate, the chocolate-covered almonds. They're absolutely wonderful.
Dr. I. King Jordan, the first deaf president of Gallaudet University, said, quote, "Deaf people can do anything that hearing people can do, except hear." And that's how I've lived. I've been married for 27 years and have 5 daughters and 2 grandchildren. And 2 years ago, I retired from United Parcel Services. For me, this is a great time to live because of technology like closed captioning and video phones. They have created so many opportunities to learn and to communicate.
Having a disability should not infringe upon our constitutional rights as American citizens, the unalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Regardless of the circumstances we face, we all share the rights to the same values and principles our forefathers shared when establishing this great nation. Hello, I'm Rita Byers.
And I'm Billy Alton. Today we're going to examine barriers faced by people with disabilities in our communities. We'll not only examine physical barriers, such as impassable stairs or lack of curb cuts, but we'll also look at social and psychological barriers.
Many times for persons with disabilities, the difference between failing and succeeding comes down to the people they encounter in their everyday lives. The person who makes the difference just might be you.
People don't lose their rights, needs, or dreams just because they have a disability.
When interacting with a person with a disability, it's important to keep in mind some basic rules of etiquette.
People with disabilities want to be treated like everyone else. Treat adults as adults, then address any specific needs they might have appropriately.
People with disabilities are as resourceful and self-reliant as those without disabilities. It is appropriate to offer help, but don't automatically assume they want it or need it.
Hey, how you doing? Help you up the hill?
Thanks, but I got it.
All right.
I'll run you, though.
Hey, let's do it.
Give people with disabilities the respect of addressing them directly. Think how you would feel if people assumed you weren't competent to participate in an ordinary conversation.
People are people, and their disability is secondary. When you are treated as heroic or superhuman, it only serves to make you feel separate from everyone else.
Some people with disabilities may need more time to accomplish everyday tasks. Your patience gives them the chance to exercise power in their own lives.
Don't ask a person with a disability questions you wouldn't ask someone without a disability. Privacy is precious to all of us, and having a disability does not change that fact.
We're all gathered together one Sunday after church, standing around talking like you always do, and a friend of mine approached me. Hadn't seen her since graduation. Hugs my neck, tells me how good I look, just kind of small talk, and then out of the blue she says, "Can you still have babies?" Well, sadly I told her no, but I could still contribute to the process. It's pretty simple, really. People with disabilities want to be treated with respect and acknowledged as people.
With this understood, it is easier to provide the kind of help they would appreciate. Now let's look at some particular types of disabilities and some rules of etiquette appropriate for each of them.
As people, we are all the same, yet uniquely different. Perhaps one day all people will be respected as common, typical, or normal. When that respect is in place, accessibility for transportation, housing, education, employment, and the full enjoyment of life will be fully shared by all. It is to this end that I want to invest each new day that I am given.
Never assume that someone who has a physical disability also has a cognitive disability. When speaking with someone in a wheelchair, do it at their eye level. It's not comfortable to have to constantly look up when having a conversation. And for a person with a physical disability, a wheelchair or a walker is an extension of their body. So you should avoid touching someone's wheelchair without permission.
I've always dreamed of attending college and then law school. In order to pursue my dream, I had to move from the small town of Waldo to the state's capital, Little Rock. Now I'm working for a Disability Rights Center where I help people with disabilities and provide awareness education to others throughout the state. I'm also a student at ULR and well on my way to law school. I believe that through a strong belief system and hard work, people can accomplish great things.
Cognitive or developmental disabilities frequently originate in infancy or can be caused by head injuries. People with these disabilities can have trouble with language, learning, and mobility. You will be most helpful if you take the time to show them exactly how things should be done. Demonstrate each step and explain what you are doing as you do it. Short, concrete sentences are best, and speak in your normal voice. Allow plenty of time for the person to complete an activity. People with cognitive or developmental disabilities may require extra time to accomplish ordinary tasks. Bluntness of speech may be a natural part of their communication style, so try not to get defensive. Patience is the best policy.
Whatever I want to do in life, I find I've just got to go ahead and do it. I've been blessed with the ability to sing, and singing is something that I love. And I have a CD out right now. It's a combination of both country and gospel. I'm not going to let blindness rob me of life's greatest experiences. The key is to take the disability and turn it into an advantage.
People with visual disabilities are good at using available cues, along with their other senses, to negotiate their surroundings. You can help them by following a few simple guidelines. Introduce yourself and let them know who you are. Describe what you're doing as you're doing it. Be descriptive and exact when giving directions. In addition to giving exact directions, it's okay to ask the person, "May I assist you?" and then assist accordingly.
Sometimes people believe that hearing people need to do, quote, for deaf people. But I believe that I'm the one that needs to serve. And I feel a deep satisfaction when I'm doing things for others. Since retiring, I've had more time for doing things, like serving on the governor's Deaf and Hearing Impaired Telecommunications Advisory Board, and building into the next generation by teaching character education here at the School for the Deaf, and by helping deaf people in Honduras, where we've been able to establish a school and a church for the deaf community. It's been amazing. Sure, I can't hear, but I don't think that I've missed a thing.
There's a distinction between being deaf and being hard of hearing. If you're hard of hearing and wear a hearing aid, it may sound like this. Hearing aids amplify all sounds in noisy rooms or outside. It can be hard to distinguish one voice from all other sounds. To communicate with someone who is deaf or wearing a hearing aid, there are a few key things to remember. Don't assume people who have a hearing impairment can lip read. Some can, some can. If you aren't sure, find out how the person communicates best. If it's lip reading, speak in a normal voice and face the person directly. It could also be writing, in which case, offer to use a pen and notepad. If you need to get their attention, tap a shoulder gently or wave your hand in front of their face. And if you're not sure whether the person understood your words, ask them. If necessary, rephrase your sentence.
Hey, where's the football field? Where's the football field? Never mind.
Saying never mind sends the message that you don't think what they're saying is worth the trouble. Patience and persistence will go a long way in helping the person with a hearing impairment to be successful.
I hope my advocacy work will let my sons grow up in a better world. I want my sons to be safe, to have good schools, to have clean parks to play in, and to embrace diversity.
You can't simply assume that someone with a speech disability also has a cognitive disability. Yet these people are often assumed to be mentally impaired, ill, or even intoxicated. When you encounter someone with a speech disability, patience and a few basic communication skills will be a tremendous help. Don't pretend you understand something when you don't. It's all right to say, "I'm sorry, I don't understand. Would you please repeat what you said?" This lets the individual know that what they are saying is important to you. If you don't understand what someone is saying, stop and ask the person for a better way to communicate. Or there may be someone who can interpret. If the conversation becomes stressful, it is very important that you remain calm. Public places are often noisy. If so, consider going to a quieter place to talk. Finally, remember your basic communication skills. Don't interrupt, don't finish people's sentences for them, and try not to become impatient.
Mental illness is a hidden disability. It is a biological brain disorder with varying degrees of severity. Depending on the level of severity, it may or may not be detectable based upon behavior. However, if you notice a person's anxiety level being raised and you have a concern, gently invite the person away from the stressful situation to continue your conversation. Be patient, stay calm, and allow plenty of time to respond.
Being a father has been one of the most important roles I've had in my life. When I first experienced depression after I suffered an injury to my back 27 years ago, I knew little about depression or treatment for it. Although my attending physician referred me to treatment for depression, I was not in agreement with him, and I resisted accepting the reality of having depression. It was only after receiving treatment that I began to accept that I did have a degree of depression. However, there were other reasons that made my getting treatment so important, and those reasons were my 3 children. They needed me as a father and provider, not as a person who was too proud to get treatment for depression. My children have been a major part of my support system over the past several years. That has made a great difference in my success to minimize the effects of my depression and promoting positive recovery.
As a physician, I've been an advocate for people with mental illness for over 20 years. Mental illness affects a greater number of people than the general public would think. Mental illness is a brain disorder, and just as diabetes and heart disease may affect other parts of the body, mental illness affects the brain. There are many different kinds of mental illness: schizophrenia, bipolar, major depression, anxiety, obsessive-compulsive disorders. Each one of these is different from the other. Just as physical illness affects people differently, diseases of the brain affect people in various ways. Understanding, patience, proper diagnosis and treatment are needed when dealing with someone with mental illness.
Now let's look at the actual physical barriers to accessing public places for people with disabilities. In many cases, there are simple solutions to fix these problems.
If you get annoyed when you can't find a parking space near your destination, imagine how you'd feel if you had a disability and had to park a considerable distance from the door. Many public buildings have accessible parking, but those without it pose a hardship for people with disabilities. Likewise, unpaved parking lots, especially gravel surfaces, are largely inaccessible to people using wheelchairs, walkers, canes, or crutches. These issues should be addressed.
Curbs can be a major obstacle for people with physical disabilities.
High curbs along the path of travel should be provided with wheelchair-accessible cuts. Sidewalks that are badly cracked should be repaired to allow easy passage. And narrow or obstructed pathways can also prevent access for wheelchairs and walkers. Alternative routes should be identified and clearly marked. Ramps are essential for people with physical disabilities. They should have handrails and edge protection. You should also make sure there's nothing sticking out from the side of the pathway that could cause problems for people with visual impairments.
Entrances present the next obstacles that must be addressed. Once again, little things become big barriers when you have a physical disability. Unbeveled door thresholds, stairs without ramps, and ramps with no landing at the top all can present barriers to someone using a wheelchair or a walker. Doorways should be at least 32 inches wide. Interior doors should open with no more than 5 pounds of force. Exterior doors with no more than 8 pounds of force. A common fish scale will quickly let you know if a door is too heavy. Door handles should be operable using only a closed fist. And double doors must have adequate room for a wheelchair to pass through easily.
After entering the building, check hallways and corridors for obstructions.
Other possible problems include mats or loose carpeting that restrict passage, and hallways or aisles that are too narrow.
Rooms and corridors need to be marked with clear directional signs in both English and Braille. Make sure that tables and other furniture are not spaced so close together that wheelchairs cannot easily pass. Signs or other information should be placed at a height that can be read easily sitting down.
Whether you're operating a retail store, a hotel, or a polling place, set up at least one service area at a table. This is needed not only for people using wheelchairs, but also for those who might have difficulty standing. Bathrooms should be constructed to ensure adequate privacy and independence for all people.
Make sure any materials needed by your clients or consumers are available in alternative formats such as Braille, large print, or audio. A simple ruler can help the signature process. It can be used as a signature line guide for anyone with a disability like blindness or a condition such as cerebral palsy. It will help study the signature. Pre-record any instructions on a CD or tape and have a player with headphones available for audio instructions. And be sure to have a notebook and pen available if written communication seems like the best approach.
Making businesses and public places more accessible for people with disabilities isn't just good for them, it's good for everyone. If given the opportunity, people with disabilities will enrich our communities in many ways, economically, socially, and personally.
Remember, equality is not only the law, it's a right, and it's the American way.
Disability Rights Center would like to thank all of those participating in the making of this portion of the HAVA video. This segment is designed to educate poll workers and others on how to interact with citizens with disabilities by using general examples. For further information on dealing with a specific disability or access issue not included in this segment, please contact Disability Rights Center toll-free at 1-800-482-1174.